Most people believe financial security is simply about earning enough money. They think that if their salary looks decent and their bills are getting paid, then everything must be fine. The bank account grows a little, the job feels stable, and life moves forward in a predictable rhythm. But the truth is that financial stability is rarely about how things look during calm times. Real stability is about how well someone can adapt when circumstances change. And change is something the modern world produces constantly. Industries shift, companies restructure, entire markets move in directions that nobody expected a short time earlier. For many people, these changes arrive quietly at first. A few headlines here, a few conversations there. Small signals that something in the larger system is beginning to move. Most people ignore those signals, not because they are careless, but because daily life keeps them busy. Work deadlines, family responsibilities, and everyday expenses make long-term thinking difficult. When everything around you appears normal, preparing for uncertainty can feel unnecessary. Yet history shows that periods of stability and periods of disruption often follow each other. When disruption appears, the people who handle it best are usually the ones who spent time building flexibility. Long before anything changed, financial flexibility is one of the most powerful tools a person can have. It means the ability to slow down and make thoughtful decisions, instead of rushing into whatever option appears first. Imagine facing a difficult situation without any savings at all. Bills arrive the same way they always do. Rent still needs to be paid. Groceries still need to be purchased. Pressure begins building almost immediately, and every decision suddenly feels urgent. Under that kind of pressure, people often accept whatever solution appears fastest. They take jobs they do not want, sell assets they worked years to build, or make financial choices they later regret. Now imagine that same situation with a financial cushion in place. Instead of panic, there is breathing room. Instead of urgency, there is time to think. Time changes everything. With time, people can explore better opportunities. They can plan carefully instead of reacting emotionally. They can protect the progress they spent years creating. That difference might not seem dramatic when life feels stable, but during uncertainty, it becomes incredibly important. Another thing people often forget is that difficult periods sometimes create opportunities that rarely appear during calm markets. Entire industries evolve. New companies emerge. Investments that once seemed out of reach suddenly become accessible. But those opportunities are usually invisible to people who are struggling just to get through the week. When survival becomes the focus, long-term growth disappears from the conversation. This is why building financial resilience is not only about protecting yourself from hardship, it is also about positioning yourself for the moments when the world begins shifting in new directions. The path toward that resilience is not complicated, but it does require discipline. It begins with awareness, understanding where your money goes, how your spending patterns develop, and how small choices accumulate over time. From there, it becomes a matter of consistent habits, saving regularly, even when the amount feels small, avoiding unnecessary debt whenever possible, allowing investments to grow patiently instead of chasing quick results. These habits are not exciting. They do not create dramatic overnight success stories. But over time, they build something far more valuable than short-term excitement. They build stability. One of the biggest challenges people face is something subtle that happens when their income increases. As earnings grow, spending often grows alongside it. A slightly nicer lifestyle slowly replaces the previous one. A more comfortable apartment, a newer vehicle, more convenience in everyday life. None of these things are inherently wrong. Enjoying the results of hard work is a natural part of life. But when every increase in income immediately becomes an increase in lifestyle, the opportunity to build long-term security quietly disappears. The people who build strong financial foundations often follow a different approach. When their income grows, they allow part of that growth to strengthen their future instead of their immediate lifestyle. Over time, that difference compounds. Savings expand, investments grow. Financial stress slowly fades into the background because there is a buffer between daily life and unexpected challenges. Eventually, something interesting happens. Money begins working alongside the individual instead of constantly demanding attention. At that point, financial decisions feel less stressful and more strategic. Opportunities can be evaluated carefully rather than rushed. Life becomes less about reacting to circumstances and more about choosing directions intentionally. Many people reach this realization later than they wish they had. A sudden challenge appears, and they begin building habits that could have started years earlier. But the encouraging part of this story is that progress can begin at any moment. Financial resilience does not require perfection. It simply requires a decision to start moving in a different direction. Small improvements today eventually become meaningful changes tomorrow. The person who begins building a stronger foundation now may look back years later and realize that those quiet decisions created the freedom they enjoy. Because at the end of the day, true financial security is not about appearing successful on the surface. It is about having the ability to navigate uncertainty with confidence. It is about having options when circumstances change. And most importantly, it is about knowing that whatever direction the world moves next, you have built the stability to move with it instead of being pushed by it. Most people never realize how fragile financial comfort can be until something interrupts their routine. Life has a way of feeling predictable when everything is going smoothly. Paychecks arrive, bills are handled, and small savings slowly grow in the background. That pattern creates a quiet sense of security. But real security is not built during calm moments alone. It is built through preparation for moments that do not follow the usual pattern. The truth is that uncertainty is a natural part of life. Economies shift, industries evolve, and opportunities appear in places nobody expected. Sometimes those changes feel small at first. News stories begin to hint at larger movements in the world. Businesses start adjusting their strategies. Conversations about the future slowly become more serious. During those moments, people tend to respond in very different ways. Some ignore the signals and continue assuming that everything will remain the same. Others begin paying closer attention and quietly start strengthening their financial position. The second group rarely looks dramatic from the outside. They are not making extreme moves or reacting with fear. Instead, they simply begin focusing on stability. They reduce unnecessary spending. They save more consistently. They think about the future with patience instead of urgency. These actions may seem small in the moment, but over time, they build something powerful: flexibility. Financial flexibility changes the way someone experiences uncertainty. When people have no financial cushion, every unexpected situation feels overwhelming. Stress appears quickly because the margin for error is almost non-existent. A small problem suddenly feels like a major crisis. But when someone has built a financial buffer, the same situation feels very different. Instead of panic, there is room to breathe. Instead of rushing into decisions, there is time to evaluate options carefully. That difference affects everything. It affects career choices, investment decisions, and even emotional well-being. People with financial breathing room can think clearly when others feel trapped by urgency. Another reality that many people overlook is that times of uncertainty often reshape the world in unexpected ways. Businesses adapt, new ideas gain attention, and entire industries sometimes transform. For individuals who are prepared, these transitions can open doors. New opportunities emerge when others are too focused on immediate survival to notice them. Innovation tends to grow during moments when the old systems begin changing. The people who benefit most from these transitions are usually not the ones who reacted at the last possible moment. They are the ones who quietly prepared in advance. Preparation rarely looks exciting. It does not create dramatic headlines or viral success stories. Instead, it is built through steady habits practiced consistently over time. Living slightly below one's means, saving with discipline, avoiding unnecessary financial risks, allowing investments to grow with patience. These behaviors may feel slow compared to the fast-paced stories often celebrated online, but they create something far more reliable than short-term excitement. They create resilience. Resilience means the ability to adapt when circumstances change. It allows someone to navigate uncertainty without losing the progress they worked hard to achieve. One of the most common obstacles people face while trying to build that resilience is lifestyle expansion. As income grows, spending often grows alongside it. Comfort increases little by little, and before long the additional income that could have strengthened the future disappears into new habits. A slightly more comfortable lifestyle feels harmless at first, A few upgrades here and there seem reasonable. Over time, however, those upgrades can quietly absorb the resources that might have created long-term stability. People who build strong financial foundations usually become aware of this pattern early. Instead of allowing every increase in income to change their lifestyle immediately, they direct part of that increase towards strengthening their future. That choice may not feel exciting in the short term, but it changes the trajectory of their lives. Savings begin to grow more noticeably. Investments gain time to compound. Gradually, the financial pressure that many people feel every month begins to fade. Life becomes less about reacting to every expense and more about planning for long-term goals. Eventually, the relationship with money begins to shift. Instead of constantly demanding attention, finances start supporting personal freedom. Choices become easier to make. Career decisions become more flexible. The future feels less uncertain because there is a foundation strong enough to support change. Many people reach this understanding only after facing a difficult moment that forces them to reconsider their habits. A challenge appears, and suddenly financial preparation becomes urgent. But the strongest position is built before urgency arrives. Starting early allows time to do its quiet work. Small actions repeated consistently grow into meaningful results. Each disciplined decision becomes another layer in a structure, designed to withstand uncertainty. And while no one can predict exactly what the future will bring, one thing remains clear throughout history. The individuals who prepare thoughtfully tend to navigate change far more smoothly than those who assume stability will last forever. Financial resilience does not require extreme wealth or complicated strategies. It simply requires awareness, patience, and a willingness to think beyond the present moment. The person who begins strengthening their foundation today may not notice dramatic changes tomorrow. Progress may feel slow at first, but with time, those quiet efforts accumulate into something powerful. They create confidence. Confidence that when circumstances shift, there will be options. Confidence that decisions can be made calmly rather than under pressure. Confidence that the future, whatever direction it takes, can be approached with stability instead of fear. And in a world that continues to evolve in unpredictable ways, that kind of confidence is one of the most valuable assets anyone can build. And the interesting thing about financial preparation is that it rarely feels urgent while everything around you appears normal. When daily life follows its usual rhythm, most people assume that tomorrow will look very similar to today. Work continues, bills get paid, plans are made for the future. Because of that, it becomes easy to postpone serious financial planning. People often tell themselves that they will start saving more later, or that they will focus on investing when life becomes less busy. But life rarely becomes less busy. Responsibilities grow, expenses appear, and time moves forward faster than expected. Before long, years pass while financial habits remain mostly unchanged. This is why awareness is so important. The moment someone becomes aware of how fragile financial comfort can be, their perspective begins to shift. They start looking at money not only as something to spend, but also as a tool that can protect their future. Once that shift happens, small decisions begin to change. Instead of spending automatically, people start thinking more carefully about where their money goes. Instead of focusing only on immediate enjoyment, they begin balancing today's comfort with tomorrow's stability. That balance is where real financial strength begins to grow. It doesn't mean removing joy from life or refusing every luxury. It simply means understanding that every financial decision carries a long-term impact. Some decisions strengthen the future, while others slowly weaken it. The people who build lasting stability usually become very intentional with those choices. They recognize that consistency matters more than intensity. A small positive habit repeated regularly can be far more powerful than a short burst of extreme effort. Saving a little more often, spending a little more carefully, thinking a little further ahead. Over time, those small adjustments begin shaping a completely different financial path. Another important part of preparation is diversification of thinking. Many people rely entirely on a single source of stability, such as one job or one income stream. While that approach can work during stable periods, it can also create vulnerability if circumstances change. People who think long-term often look for ways to create additional layers of security in their lives. Sometimes that means learning new skills. Sometimes it means exploring different ways to generate income. Sometimes it simply means building investments that grow quietly in the background. Each additional layer adds a little more resilience. And resilience is what allows people to remain calm when uncertainty appears. Calm thinking is one of the greatest advantages anyone can have during challenging times. When others rush into decisions driven by fear, the person who prepared early can step back and evaluate the situation more carefully. That ability to pause and think clearly often leads to better outcomes. It allows someone to recognize opportunities hidden within difficult situations. It allows them to protect what they have built instead of losing it through panic. Over time, preparation also changes the emotional relationship people have with money. Instead of feeling constant pressure, they begin experiencing a sense of control. Money becomes less about survival and more about strategy. Decisions become thoughtful rather than reactive. And perhaps most importantly, the future begins to feel less uncertain. Not because uncertainty disappears, but because the individual has built enough stability to face it confidently. That confidence grows quietly, much like the habits that created it. At first, the changes may seem small. A slightly larger savings balance, investments gradually increasing, a growing awareness of financial possibilities. But with patience, those small developments combine into something much larger. They create freedom. Freedom to handle unexpected events without panic. Freedom to explore opportunities that once felt impossible. Freedom to make life decisions based on values rather than financial pressure. Many people search for complicated strategies or secret formulas that promise instant success. In reality, the foundation of financial resilience is much simpler. It is built on discipline, patience, and awareness. Anyone who commits to those principles can begin improving their financial future, regardless of where they start. Progress may not happen overnight. It may take time before the results become visible, but every thoughtful decision moves the individual slightly closer to stability. And eventually, one day they may look back and realize that the quiet habits they practiced consistently created a life that feels far more secure than they once imagined. Because true financial strength is rarely loud or dramatic. It grows quietly, decision by decision, until it becomes strong enough to support whatever the future may bring. And as time moves forward, something interesting begins to happen for people who stay committed to these quiet habits. Their perspective about money slowly changes. In the beginning, saving and planning can feel difficult. It may seem like progress is slow, and sometimes it might even feel like the effort is not making much difference. Many people experience moments where they wonder if their discipline truly matters. But patience has a unique way of revealing results over time. Little by little, the financial foundation becomes stronger. The pressure that once felt constant begins to fade. Instead of worrying about every unexpected expense, there is a sense that challenges can be handled without everything falling apart. That feeling alone can transform the way someone approaches life. When financial stress is reduced, people often think more clearly about their goals. They begin asking deeper questions about the kind of life they want to build. Some start exploring new career paths. Others begin developing projects they once believed were impossible. The presence of stability opens the door to creativity and long-term thinking. It also changes how people respond to uncertainty. The world will always experience periods of change. Industries evolve, technology advances, and new ideas reshape the way society functions. For someone who has built financial resilience, these changes feel less threatening. Instead of fearing change, they begin observing it. They pay attention to new opportunities that appear during transitions. They stay patient while others rush into decisions. They remain calm when headlines create waves of anxiety. This calmness is not the result of luck. It is the result of preparation. Preparation gives people the ability to step back and see the bigger picture. When everyone else is reacting emotionally, the prepared individual can think strategically. That difference may seem small in the moment, but over time it can shape an entire future. Another important part of financial resilience is learning to separate needs from impulses. Modern life constantly encourages spending. Advertising, social media, and cultural expectations often suggest that success must be visible and immediate. Because of this, many people feel pressure to display a lifestyle that appears impressive to others. But appearances rarely reflect true stability. This shift allows people to think beyond the present moment. They begin planning years ahead instead of weeks ahead. Goals that once felt distant start to appear achievable because the foundation supporting them has been carefully built over time. And that foundation is not created by a single decision. It is created by hundreds of small choices made consistently. Choosing patience instead of impulse. Choosing preparation instead of neglect. Choosing long-term stability instead of temporary satisfaction. Individually, these choices may seem insignificant, but together, they form the structure of a resilient life. Another remarkable outcome of financial preparation is the sense of independence it provides. When someone is no longer controlled by constant financial pressure, their decisions begin to reflect their true priorities. They may choose work that aligns with their values. They may spend more time with the people who matter most. They may invest energy into ideas and projects that bring meaning to their lives. Financial stability does not guarantee happiness, but it creates the space where happiness can grow without being constantly interrupted by stress and uncertainty. This space allows individuals to live more intentionally. They become less reactive to external pressures and more focused on what truly matters to them. The noise of comparison fades. The urgency to impress others slowly disappears. In its place, a quiet confidence begins to form. The confidence of knowing that progress is happening, even when it is not visible to everyone else. And this confidence often inspires a deeper level of patience. People begin to understand that meaningful results rarely happen overnight. Just as financial resilience takes time to build, the benefits of that resilience continue to grow gradually, year after year, opportunity after opportunity. With each passing stage of life, the prepared individual discovers that the habits they built earlier continue supporting them in ways they may not have expected. Unexpected changes feel manageable. New opportunities feel less intimidating, and the future begins to look less like a threat and more like an open path. This is the quiet reward of discipline. It is not about sudden wealth or dramatic success stories. It is about building a life that remains steady even when circumstances change. A life where choices are guided by intention rather than pressure. A life where preparation quietly works in the background, providing strength, flexibility, and freedom. And in a world that constantly moves faster and demands immediate results, that kind of stability becomes one of the most valuable advantages a person can have. Because while trends rise and fall, and circumstances continue to shift, the person who has built a strong foundation carries something far more lasting. They carry the ability to adapt, to remain calm when uncertainty appears, and to move forward with confidence, knowing that whatever the future holds, they have prepared themselves not just to endure it, but to navigate it wisely.